Let's talk about real truth and power. Health. Let's talk about knowledge of self. Community. Let's talk about it. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
All right, peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. We got a powerful show. So before I introduce my guest, let's get into it.
You are now tuned in to Real Truth and Power, the show that uplifts the community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Here's your host, Everett Winchester.
All right, peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. Thank you for tuning in to another Real Truth and Power Live podcast where we provide health, wealth, and knowledge of self. I got a powerful guest today, man, so I'm very excited to get him on. His brother, Steve Belcher. He is a RN, and he's actually doing a documentary, I believe it's called Urban Crisis. This brother is powerful, man. He is part of the Urban Kidney Alliance. You can check him out at urbankidneyalliance.org. That's urbankidneyalliance.org. Before I bring in my brother, let me play a little bit of what he was talking about on his Facebook page. Again, the brother's powerful. Let me get into that right now, and then I'll bring him in.
I can't do it anymore, man, because it's just so damn sad how these places are setting up in communities right across the street. Somebody could just come out the apartment and say, look, if I need dialysis, this is a good thing because it's right across the street. No, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing because that means when they're in these neighborhoods, it's a high rate of diabetes and hypertension in this area. These guys are not going to just set up in any community and not make any money off of it. Warren Buffett is not stupid, okay? Warren Buffett is not stupid. They know, they got the business model. They know the business model. They know where to set up shop, right? They know where to set up these dialysis clinics right across the street from liquor stores and other places that have a major contributor in kidney disease. Liquor store, dialysis. Liquor store, dialysis. I mean, I showed you in Baltimore, I showed you in DC, I showed you in Houston, Texas.
So wow, man, this brother's really dropping some knowledge on the black community about health. As you know, we always talking about it. Let me bring in my brother, RN Steve Belcher, right now so we can just get it in. I got so many powerful questions to talk to him about dialysis, kidneys, health, wealth. So let me bring him in right now. Man, I'm blessed to have my guest. I'm blessed to have my guest, brother Steve. Please introduce yourself to the people, give them a brief description of your background and everything.
Hey, brother Ever, how you doing? Yes, my name is Steve Belcher. I'm executive director of Urban Kidney Alliance, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization located here in Clinton, Maryland. And basically, the purpose or the mission of the organization is to educate and raise awareness of kidney disease education in urban communities that are at risk for kidney disease, diabetes, and hypertension. I'm also a registered nurse, was employed in kidney dialysis for over 30 years as a dialysis technician for 10 years and a registered nurse, charge nurse for 24 years.
Now, first, I want to talk about kidney disease. Talk about that in reference to how it affects the Black community. How, what are the causes of it and things of that nature?
Well, Everett, the two leading causes of kidney disease is diabetes and hypertension. However, you have other causes of kidney failure or kidney disease. You have genetic causes. You may have causes that may come from other diseases such as lupus or sickle cell disease. But what we focus on are the two leading causes, which I stated are diabetes and hypertension, which are preventable. Mm-hmm. And so within the Black community, you have, well, first of all, you have about 15% of the U.S. adult population that has kidney disease. So that's about 37 million people who are estimated to have chronic kidney disease. And just because you have chronic kidney disease doesn't mean it's going to lead to chronic kidney failure. Okay, because kidney disease has 5 stages, which one is the mild stage, being 5 is where it's called end-stage renal disease, where a person needs a transplant or they go on dialysis for treatment. And so if you can catch the disease in one of those stages before it actually gets to maybe say stage 4 or even stage 3. At stage 3, you could pretty much stop the progression or halt it, and it doesn't have to lead on to kidney failure. But it's 9 out of 10 adults that have stage 3 and they don't even know they have it. So that's a critical moment for people to do something once they find out that they have kidney disease. Now, once you reach stage 4 and stage 5, you can still halt the progression, but you kind of can think that kidney failure or dialysis or transplant is going to be inevitable. And so it's really important that one catches this disease early, and it just takes a simple blood and urine test to see what's going on. A urine test helps to see if you have any protein in your urine, which lets you know that you got some kidney damage going on. And then the blood test sees how much waste or urea, which is as a result of muscle breakdown, which is normally excreted through the urine when we urinate. That test to see how much of that toxin or urea is in the blood. And so when you get those two numbers, it could tell you how well your kidneys functioning, if you have any type of low kidney function or kidney disease, and if you got any protein spillage in your urine, which
as a result of kidney damage.
Now,
So,
before I go any further, I want to just make this perfectly clear because you said something that I didn't know, that you could detect kidney issues through urine and a blood test. So I just really want to stress, if you could just elaborate how important it is to just get, for especially our people in our community, to go and get physically, get your physicals and get checked up.
oh,
What
absolutely.
what would be some of the symptoms that they may, get, that they say, man, I may need to check and see if my kidney is, going on?
Well, let me just tell you, that's why they call it a silent killer, because there's no symptoms until it's too late.
Oh man.
So that's why we stress the importance of going to get tested every year, every 6 months, especially if you fall in the high risk category.
Oh, every
But
6 months. At what age are you just recommending, like, everybody?
well, let me just say this: it doesn't have to be every 6 months, but I'm just saying that if
you need to get it checked. Yeah.
yeah, if you fall in, that risk, into that risk group, like if you have weight on, like obese, and maybe you live in a food desert community, or you don't even have to live in a food desert community, but let's just say that you're eating a lot of high calorie foods, a lot of animal protein foods, high in saturated fats, and you're not doing any type of physical, constant physical activity, and you're living in a sedentary lifestyle, which you're not moving and you're just steadily consuming, you may be falling at risk. Or if your parents, your father, your mom had diabetes or hypertension, which is not passed down through a gene, but it's more environmental wise. When we grow up in our families, we're more likely to repeat those patterns that our parents done. So we're likely to eat what they ate. For instance, when I grew up, we ate, bacon, eggs, and, in the morning, pancakes and stuff like that. These foods that, again, high in saturated fat, the animal products like sausage, bacon, the eggs, the dairy products. When you're constantly eating that every day over a long period of time, that stuff kind of builds up as far as the ingredients in it, like the fats and the ingredients. And, on top of that, if one maybe, smokes cigarettes, or again, no physical activity, that can all kind of combine together to lead to hypertension or diabetes. That's why you hear people have strokes, because their arteries may be clogged, and blood and oxygen can't get maybe to the heart or to the brain tissue, because it may be fat deposits or whatever's clogging up the arteries and causing that to happen. So again, I just say every 6 months if one can, or if one has the means, whether it's Medicaid or whatever, to use those services that are free to you as often as you can, whether it's anything to do with prevention measures to keep you healthy.
Now, you said something there, and I know you might go in on this one, but first of all, you talked about the things that we eat, bacon, a lot of unhealthy food can attribute to it. But the main thing I want to focus on is hypertension and diabetes that runs rampant in the Black community. And I saw you talking about that on social media. Just go in on that, how it affects the community, how it relates a little bit more with the kidney failure, and some of the things you were saying on your page the other day?
Well, again, with hypertension and diabetes, I mean, you have genetic components that play some part of this, but the biggest thing with, say, for instance, high blood pressure, it used to be called a silent killer. And the reason why, because there was another disease that you didn't know that you had. One may say, oh, they may say I got constant headache, and you know that constant headache may be your blood pressure rising, and so one may ignore it. And if you ignore it and you go on and do what you were doing, it stays high. I mean, it's pretty much left unchecked. So if you're walking around, you're already at risk. You know, minorities already at risk for hypertension, whether it's environmental, whether it's our environment that we live in, the stress and all that. The stress that Blacks go through now, you got to think about. And I'm not going to get all scientific, but if you think about the flight or risk, I'm trying to think of that flight or risk response that we have, where you're always ready to respond to something. Maybe something may go on, or you're in a community where there's always maybe gunfire or just a high stressful community that may contribute to flight or risk type of behavior, where you're always on guard, and that can put strain on your arteries to cause your pressure to go up, like the nerves and everything that we got coming in as far as the stressors. So, but not just that, but when you add on top of which is the biggest thing, the food that one may ingest, where they may not think about they ingesting a high rate of sodium. Say, for instance, one live in a food desert community, or one is constantly consuming ramen noodles. And if you look on a package, different noodles may have different sodium content, but then they got other stuff that has sodium when you look at the ingredients. But if you don't know science or been in that type of field to recognize, you may just see salt, but you may not see the other ingredients that may have sodium products, like something may say monosodium hydrate or something. One may not even go and think to look at that to say, oh, that got salt in it. But the point is, when you're already at risk for hypertension and you don't know that you're at risk, and you constantly consuming stuff that are high in salt, and you don't get that checked out, at some point it's going to come to a head. Whether you go get it checked because you don't feel well or something's going on, you finally go to the doctor or whatever, and they check your blood pressure, and it may read 200 over 120. And when these type of blood pressure produce something that's called hypertensive crisis, where that's where someone can have a stroke because your pressure is sky high and you didn't even know it, and you could pass out or have an aneurysm. I mean, just so many things that could come out of that: heart disease, stroke. And so if your blood pressure is not managed with the with medication, diet, exercise, then man, that was used to be called a silent killer.
Right.
And same with diabetes. I mean, all that goes kind of hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Diabetes can cause hypertension. Hypertension can cause diabetes. Heart disease. That's all tied in because, again, when you look at the fat intake, well, let me go ahead. Did you see the documentary What the Health?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
What's it? You said What the Health?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
It's on Netflix. I mean, all centers around eating a vegan lifestyle,
Okay.
but how drug companies and are making money, and all these organizations that say they promote healthy living and eating, but they don't. For instance, the American Diabetes Association.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. So let me go back. So with diabetes type 2, if you look at it, when you have sugar released in your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the pancreas does is secrete insulin, so it puts that sugar that you naturally eat from foods and stuff, it puts that in the cells so it can be used for energy.
Okay.
Right? Now, if you're eating foods that's high in saturated fat, say for instance, you ever fried bacon, and after you take the bacon out of the pan, about an hour later, you see that wax?
Right. That's
okay.
That grease type stuff.
Right. And it's paste, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's grease. So it's still grease on bacon when you ingest it, right? Mm-hmm. So just think about it when it breaks down in your system and how the fat builds up. So that same paste, what happens when that fat coats your cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
That same fat that causes heart disease and that clogs your artery, where people got to get like artery bypass and stuff like that. Well, that same fat is the same fat that's covering the cells as well. And so if it's covering the cells, that means that when you ingest the sugar and it breaks down, when your pancreas kicks out the insulin, it can't put that sugar in the cells because the cells are coated with that fat. So it builds up in your system. That's where the diabetes come from.
It's interesting you said that. I remember like when I was younger, my mother would cook the bacon, like you say, the grease would sit in the pan and then it'd get like that paste, and she'd cover that pan up, and then she'll use that grease to cook something else. She might put
all of it. My mom did the same thing. But the point is, that same fat that when people get heart disease, where they gotta, go in and get a coronary artery bypass or stuff like that, it's the same fat. So if the sugar can't get in the cells, it's going to build up in the blood. So, but if you don't know that, you're going to continue to eat foods that's high in sugar, and it builds up. Because you remember the way they do diabetes, they do like fasting tests, but they also go by the average A1C over 3 months. And if it's like 6 or greater, that's when they say, oh, you got pre-diabetes and this and that. And then they want to start putting people on metformin, when just think if you never had diabetes before, as far as type 2, and it came from a diet, you would think you can reverse that process.
Right.
But I mean, you have to catch it early to do that, because if you're walking around 10, 15 years and with diabetes type 2, you don't know what kind of damage it may have done. Now, I know people who never had type 2 diabetes. They got it because of their lifestyle, and they end up getting amputation. Because the thing is now, so what happens when the doctor tells you you got diabetes and want to write that prescription for metformin, then the person falls into that cycle. And so now you're in the thinking mode of managing something that was caused by, diet and maybe lack of exercise or whatever the case. And now you got the metformin and you're using the medication to manage it instead of thinking about eradicating that diabetes and changing your lifestyle so you don't be taking this medicine and feeding into the disease. Because you take metformin or not, diabetes, you're still going to have it. So if you're trying to manage it, why try to manage something that is the leading cause of that can lead to the ninth leading cause of death? Because diabetes is the leading cause of kidney disease. So what I'm saying is, if it's type 2, why manage it? If you manage it, you still have it. So that means you're going to have fluctuating blood sugar, and people don't really take hold of that. And your blood sugar go up and down. And that's when it starts messing with, like your sight, other organs, possibly amputation. Where amputation comes in at is if, diabetes get to the point where it's affecting your veins, especially your lower extremity veins going down to your toes, then you could, what happens if it's gotten to that point where you get what's a condition called neuropathy. And that's where you can't kind of feel down in your lower extremities, the feeling. So you get that, and say you're walking around, don't even know it, and you don't have no socks on, walk around the house and you hit your foot or stub your toe on something and cut it, but you didn't feel it, that happened. That's how it happens from a wound infection. And then if it's no blood going down because of the diabetes, because it affects your veins, then that sore is not getting the blood protein to promote healing. And that's where the infection comes in, especially if you're not getting any wound care to that wound.
Now, I don't want to hold you up too much long, but I got a few more questions. And one of the things you really enlightened me to was the fact you said a couple of things that our people do a lot of: eating bad food, drinking alcohol, smoking, all related to bad health, which can cause kidney failure. Talk about our community as a whole, because I remember you was at a dialysis center. And it reminded me of a situation when we talk about the church, and you go to the church, but on every church corner right across the street, there's like a liquor store. And you were pointing out that, man, they had this dialysis center here. We're trying to cure our people and create healthy living, but across the street, there's an unhealthy food, and there's a liquor store here, and right by the dialysis center, they're promoting unhealthy living. Talk about the damage that is doing to the community.
Yeah, absolutely, Brother Everett. Unfortunately, in a lot of urban communities across the United States, you will find a lot of these kidney treatment centers and communities that maybe could be classified as food deserts, and then they don't even have to be classified as food deserts. But the pattern that you will see is you will see a dialysis unit, particularly DeVita or Fresenius, that is next door to a Family Dollar, and then you will have Kentucky Fried Chicken near there, or Burger King, or McDonald's. It never fails that, you know, you'll find one or the other. If you see a dialysis clinic, you will either see one of those establishments: General Dollar, Family Dollar, a liquor store. They could be in a strip mall where they're next door to a Chinese restaurant. As I said, Burger King. And again, I mean, they're even across from cemeteries. But,
oh my God.
Yeah, in Baltimore, there's a clinic right on North Avenue in Greenmount where it used to be Rite Aid right down the corner, where now that's a DeVita dialysis. And, you know, it's right across the street from the cemetery. But the point is that in the, you know, when these clinics kind of first came out, you would see them in medical centers, right? And so over the years, as we saw a spike or rise in the fast food carry-out chain, people wanted instant food to go, not you know, as far as how I grew up. I'm 56, but, you know, our parents, you know, my mom cooked, and, you know, fruits, vegetables, not every day, but what I'm saying is, if you don't incorporate that into your dietary routine, then eventually it'll come back to haunt you. Now, the thing is, these communities now have 4, 5, 6 dialysis clinics within 10-minute radius, which, you know, each facility may have different chair size. You may have one that has 24 chairs, or one that has 30, maybe one that has 12. It doesn't matter the size. The point is that what it represents, and that's people with kidney failure, Brother Elwood. And actually, we do a podcast, where we do a broadcast on Facebook. And I'm doing a broadcast this Sunday on World Kidney News, which is called Who Shall Live. And basically, Brother Everett, back in the 60s, late 60s, there weren't enough dialysis machines. So there was 4 committees set up that if you got kidney failure, you know, you either lived or died based on these committees. The last committee was called the God Committee, which was made up of 7 people out of the community, like a banker, a housewife, a preacher, and some other people, a doctor. And they actually, when the person made it through the other 3 process and it got to them, they actually decided who would live and who would die, because there wasn't enough dialysis machines. Basically, it was like, who's going to pay for it? Right. And so people actually died because they were turned away because they probably didn't make the cut. And I want to do a show on that Sunday, because people who are on dialysis now, I mean, they're very fortunate. And you have to ask the question, what would you do if your life was in the hands of 7 people? If you got diagnosed and 7 individuals had to choose whether you get dialysis or not, how do you base that off of?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but it just seems like dialysis has become big business on unhealthy Black people. Like,
oh yeah, it is big business.
Smoke, drink, eat all the fat and the junk you want, and we just gonna set this dialysis center right here and just wait for you to come on in. How can we get better awareness out there, or is it awareness and we're ignoring it? That's the thing that's really I can't understand.
It's always been this way. Even back in the 60s, it's been this way of lack of prevention and awareness. And doing shows like yours, spreading the word out there as far as PSAs, which I'm trying to do. I have a petition going on, trying to hold these dialysis corporations accountable to put more awareness in urban communities through PSAs, billboards in the community, community awareness, and advertisement and print ads. So, but the thing is, if that happens, then you're cutting into the company's bottom line, because these are Fortune 500 companies that make billions of dollars a year doing this, and that's their business of dialysis. And how they gonna make money if the machines are not running?
Right.
That's how they make their money. But at the same time, I feel like if they're gonna set up these companies in these communities, then you need to put back awareness and education in that same community that you're treating patients. I mean, they have it on their website, but to be real, what average Black is who don't know that they have kidney disease, going to go to this company's website and got to go through these certain pages to find where it says African Americans at risk for kidney disease, and then read it. That same information that they put on their site for African Americans at risk could be some of that same information that they put on the billboards or disseminate out in the community. But no one is going to logically say, oh, let me, especially if they don't know they got kidney disease. As I tell you, 9 out of 10 have stage 3 and not even aware. So it's not like they're going to say, oh, let me go to DaVita. You can have stage 3 and walk past a clinic in your community, not even know you have stage 3, and wonder what is that clinic for. And all along, kidney disease is kind of like you have it, but you don't know it. And this could be your future, and you don't know it that as well. And you're wondering what this clinic is for.
Right.
And so a lot of people fall in that situation.
Now, that was real interesting what you said there, because it's just you're just doing a lot of educating to me, because I want to go back to this real quick before I let you go. The testing, because you said all they really do is take blood and urine, but they're not really doing that on like the regular physicals, correct? That may be something that people need to start saying, hey, can you check for this?
So this is the thing. So say if you go get a physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor could draw your blood, and so the two indicators that we look at when you get your blood drawn to kind of check for kidney disease is BUN, which stands for blood urine nitrogen, and creatinine, which pretty much measures the urea in the blood and the urine. So you may have some internal medicine doctors, depending on how many patients they see, right? You can have a person that number could be creeping up and they may not even be aware. And so you got some people that fall through the cracks is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right? Can you imagine a doctor may see, nowadays doctors are putting people in and overbooking and stuff like that. I don't know what Corona, it makes it changes things now with telehealth. But my point is, before that, man, you go into a lot of doctors' office, you see people waiting, the weight room filled to the brim. And if you imagine they getting blood drawn and these tests are coming in, sometimes the doctor may not read all those tests. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to err is human. And so basically what I'm saying is you got people that you got to follow up. So you want to make sure, like, what's my BUN? Which, like I said, blood, urine, nitrogen, which falls between certain ranges, 10 to 25 reference range. And what's my creatinine? You got to call and ask for that. Or, it's another one called GFR. And the GFR stands for glomerular filtration rate. And that what measures how well your kidney function. And that what tells you what stage, as I was telling you about the 5 stages of kidney disease, that GFR number based on this scale tells you, like, if you see the number, like these numbers, that's the range of that particular stage of kidney disease.
Okay.
And so this is then getting down to stage 5. But that's what I'm saying. If you don't know that number, that GFR,
right,
then this is that critical point I was telling you about, stage 3. I mean, any stage, like here, you can, once you know, you can slow that progression. But once it gets right, like the 4 and 5, they're going to start trying to prepare the person for education on how to manage the disease to slow the progression really now and start getting ready for dialysis. So it's a 2-stage education when they get to stage 4. Okay. It's like a 2-fold education, slowing the disease down, really changing your diet, implementing certain things, adjusting the medicine to really slow that progression as much as they can, and preparing you for what's on the other side once your kidneys fail, like the dialysis treatment. If, you're going to do home dialysis, it's going to be peritoneal, it's going to be hemo, it's going to be home hemo, it's going to be transplant. And for a lot of people who watch what's going on and they fall into a stage and they start really being mindful of what's going on with their disease, and say if they didn't make it, or say the disease came from something else, because, it could come from medication, ibuprofen, antibiotics, contrast dye. But the point is, once you know, it's like you can do something about it, opposed to someone who goes to the emergency room because something's going on, or they looking down, their feet swollen, or they notice a bad metallic taste in their mouth. And these are some of the symptoms once it gets down to stage 5. So once your kidneys really come to a complete failure, that's when you start getting the symptoms you was asking me about. Like in the early stages, you're not going to get none of that, but then it's going to get to the point where you start getting fatigue, anemia, low blood count, nausea and vomiting, like a bad taste in your mouth because of the buildup of the toxins. Your feet may swell up, which is called edema. You may get respiratory distress because of fluid buildup in your lungs. So, it's just, the sooner you find out, the better position you'll be in to handle it, especially if you get hit with it. Lord forbid if someone gets hit with it and they got to start dialysis, then that's a whole new that's the new norm for a lot of people. So that's another rabbit hole you got to go down, because now you got to be prepared to go to a outpatient clinic 3 days a week. And then, when you go to these clinics and you feeling bad, they give you a stack of papers like that you got to go through. And a lot of people don't read those papers. And it's very important, because that right there tells you what the treatment is about and what are the contraindications and what are the risks of doing in-center hemodialysis. And it's a lot of risks that a lot of people are not aware of. So I just try to get that information out there. It's almost like a scratch record, but that's what we feel needs to be done to get people's attention for the ninth leading cause of death in the United States, which is kidney disease.
Man, I want to thank you so much. I want to put that plug in. I know you said Sunday you're going to do a broadcast, kind of a podcast. Just go into that a little bit so we can refresh the people's memory, and where can they check you out at?
Oh, absolutely. So this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Urban Health Outreach Media on Facebook, I broadcast a show called World Kidney News.
Okay.
And so this Sunday, in fact, let me just pull it up right quick. The advertisement, because it's really going to be, I believe, powerful. So this Sunday is Who Shall Live? It's like, what would you do if your life was left up to 7 individuals you didn't know to decide if you received dialysis or not?
That's crazy.
Yeah. What would you do? Let's talk about it. And, I have a guest who's coming on. We want to talk about it. He's a dialysis patient. He does home dialysis. And he's going to give his take on how he feels about it. And this committee was dubbed, quote, the God Committee. And, we just want to know, well, we already know, but we want to show the audience or ask that question for people who don't know, why they decide who received kidney dialysis and who didn't. Because it always wasn't the way it is now. Now people, dialysis hits, they don't have insurance or whatever the case, they can get Medicaid or Medicare.
Right.
But at one time it wasn't like that. And it could come back that way. We never know, especially when you look at COVID, when we have all these patients that's getting hit with kidney failure because of what they say, COVID.
Right.
And if you don't have the machines available, how do you determine what severity of COVID and the patient needs dialysis is going to get dialysis?
It's funny you said COVID. I was watching one show, which really stuck when I heard you talking, and they were saying that COVID is kind of like a checkup because you may be unhealthy and not know it, and that COVID will bring out the worst of it. You know what I mean? Be like, well, this is this.
And that's the thing. And see, that's the thing why it's such a disparity in the Black community, because a lot of Blacks have underlying health conditions and don't even know it. Again, if 9 out of 10 Blacks have stage 3 kidney disease and don't know it, just think of all the people who are undiagnosed diabetics, undiagnosed hypertension, and other kind of diseases that Blacks already have and that are our disparity. Yeah, we talk, asthma. You look at the communities that we live in, the environment, and conditions around where some people may live, where they may live in a part of town where you may not have no green space, or especially when you go down south and you have all these hog farms and different sewage plants and stuff like that. They're near the minority communities. And so when you think about all the environmental impact that they have on the community, then you got to also look at the health as well.
Yeah. Brother Steve, how can someone contact you if they just have some questions, a little nervous about their health, maybe even going through dialysis and have some concerns? Or
Sure. I mean, they can reach out to me at my email is Steve Belcher at Gmail, Steve L. Belcher at gmail.com. They can reach me on Facebook as Steve Belcher RN, or you can reach out on phone at Urban Kidney Alliance, 443-814-1541.
Man,
then they can go to our website too, Brother Everett.
Yeah, what's that website?
www.urbankidneyalliance.org, which has kidney disease information there, and also a pictorial of pictures of our involvement in the community and activities we have done in the past.
Awesome, man. Well, I want to thank you for helping us provide this knowledge, and hopefully I can get you back again. We could chop it up on something else important.
Oh, anytime, man. I just don't talk about kidney disease. I talk about everything else as well that impacts the Black community, sickle cell, anything.
Oh, yeah, I definitely got to get you back, brother. I got to get you back. I did not even know that. Yeah, we got to do this again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you.
All right, man. Take care. God bless.
Peace. Man, I want to give another shout out to my brother, Steve Belcher. Man, thank you. First of all, man, at Real Truth and Power, we want to let you guys know what we do. We're a nonprofit business that is trying to uplift the Black community with health, wealth, knowledge itself. We say knowledge is power. And so we want to make sure we learn ourselves. And one of the important things that this brother was dropping was powerful health tips to just keep us educated with the knowledge, man. So we got to kick another shout out to him. I'm so excited that he was able to come onto the platform. So I got to give him a quick applause. All right, shout out to Brother Steve. We're going to try to get him back on. And please, family, go get your checkups. Go get your checkups. Even if you get a physical, maybe just ask your doctor to look into that. And like he said, man, they're putting fast food, liquor stores, and a dialysis center all in the same area, right across the streets from each other. If you didn't see the video that I played in the beginning, Brother Steve travels all around, and he was, I believe, in California, and he mentioned going to Texas and Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, and showing big billboards by the dialysis center saying eat steak, and then a liquor store across the street, and a fast food across the street. So they're getting you sick by eating all this bad food, by drinking this liquor, and then putting a dialysis center in there. So while they're making you sick, feeding you with all this poison, then they're making money off of you because you still have to live. And you go to these dialysis centers. So please check out my brother. He gave his info. Go to Real Truth and Power Live on Facebook. I know some of you guys put in your comments when I share and they can't be seen. Just next show, go to Real Truth and Power Live. Please hit that like button. Also, check us out, the Collect the Black People Movement. We stream there as well as the UNIA, the Marcus Garvey movement in Atlanta. So please check out the Collect the Black People Movement. We have a bunch of shows that are about to come up, not just that's on there. It won't be just mine. Brother AC, Fun Time. He's going to be going and traveling all over cities, giving you info. We just did Brother Jay Rich, who's my co-host on a lot of shows, Seriously Joking. He had some technical difficulties his first show, but we're tightening that up. And we have my sister, Michonne Davis. She's going to be coming with a cooking show. If it's not a cooking show, we'll be throwing her show into like segments of other shows. And I'm trying to get my brother Omar Muhammad and a lot of other shows on. So I want to say, what a great show, man. Peace and blessings. Again, please hit that like and share. Let's get this information out to our people, man. When I always say health, wealth, and knowledge yourself, we want to promote black entrepreneurship and supporting black-owned businesses. And we want to talk about educating our community and supporting each other and stopping the violence and us killing each other. But we also say health. That's the first thing I always say, health, wealth, and knowledge yourself. So we got to start eating right, exercising, and like we both talked about, just to end it off, how our mothers used to cook the bacon, and you know, if the grease would fall down and it stay in the pot, we'll let that get cold, and then it'll be like actual grease, and we'll reuse it. And so that was just killing us. I don't know how many times I did that. So that's crazy, man. So I want to shout out Brother Steve again, man. We got a couple more powerful shows coming up. My man, Brother Mosiah Fit, is going to be on. He wants to talk about some situations that's been happening. And one of my young guys from one of my college recruiting services is not young anymore. He went to college, and now he is a writer, a sports columnist for The Undefeated. So I want to talk to this brother. We need more black journalists, you know, going, sports is mostly dominated by black people in the major sports. So we need more black journalists, and he's actually doing that. So I want to talk about what he's doing. I believe that'll be Thursday. So just stay tuned, man. Also, if you missed what we were talking about the 4th of July, the huge protest where we had the red, black, and green flag, made it a red, black, and green human flag in front of the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. You missed a powerful event. Go to Real Truth and Power or the Collective Black People's Movement on YouTube and find that video. It's powerful. White people with Black Lives Matter shirts raising and helping create a red, black, and green flag. Something's going on. I don't know what it is, but that old boy network is falling down, and we're putting in some major work. So I want to say shout out, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know how we do. Health, wealth, and knowledge yourself. Ashe. Go to realtruthandpower.org. Get your gear.
Truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.